Hi, it's Guy Morrow here, and this short video forms part of a series of videos that accompany my book entitled Artist Management, Agility in the Creative and Cultural Industries, and this video specifically relates to Chapter 5, which is entitled Storytelling in the Creative and Cultural Industries. So in this chapter, I broaden the context for the examination of artist management processes through a consideration of the role of geographic location in these processes, and therefore in career development in the creative and cultural industries. The work of Csikszentmihalyi is relevant here. Csikszentmihalyi, who is a positive psychologist, shifted the base questions concerning creativity from what is creativity and who is creative to where is creativity. Through doing so, he came to envisage that creativity operates within a system that involves the interrelationship between three component parts: the person, the domain, and the field. He believes that these elements jointly determine the occurrence of a creative idea, object, or action. Geographical location is fundamental for accessing the domain and the field for both artistic and managerial creativities in this model. And because of this, storytelling creativities relating to geographic locations are used by artists and artist managers. For artist managers, accessing the field and domain in one geographic location is often key to accessing the field and domain in another. This is because the more international territories involved, the greater the potential exchange value of their clients' copyright and the bigger the market is for touring. And this is why interest in one territory may be reciprocated in another. And the process of achieving interest from potential investors involves much domestic and international travel, because interest in one territory may spark interest in another. So the word story is used here because it forms part of the vernacular of artist managers in sectors of the creative and cultural industries such as music, as well as of fundraisers in other sectors of these industries. Many of the managers interviewed for this project envisaged their role as helping to build a story about their artist, which is then used to coordinate, persuade, and motivate the various entities and people who work for the artist. One interviewee, New York-based label owner and distributor Mike, used US sporting analogies of a quarterback and a point guard to describe this function. He noted that the role of the artist manager is like that of a quarterback and a point guard, and that, quote, the quarterback or the point guard is becoming the centralized source for anything the artist wants to do, end quote. Such analogies support Watson's argument that the unique relationship between artist and manager is the nucleus around which a successful musical career revolves. In order to develop this argument further, Watson used a bicycle wheel analogy to describe the structure that evolves due to the fact that, if successful, eventually the manager and the artist will assemble a network of other relationships to try to further the artist's career. And storytelling is key to this process. So this storytelling function forms part of the branding process for artists, and it often relates to the checklist that some artist managers have for the artists they sign. These checklists are in place because artist managers know that if an artist meets the criteria on their checklist, then others in the industries will become more interested in working with and investing in the artist. I've previously cited New York-based artist manager George Stein's 7-point list of criteria for artists in popular music he signs. Quote, 1. The songs, the music is key. That alone will knock millions of people off the starting blocks because they can't write. 2, they have to be able to sing, which is another separate talent. 3, they have to be able to perform, which is different to singing. 4, a singer-songwriter needs to be able to play an instrument and be a good musician, which is another separate talent. 5, they have to be focused, smart, and ambitious. They really need to prime themselves and be smart, not just focused. I mean, there are people who are focused who are just real dumb. They have to get it to actually devote themselves to it. 6, they have to be good looking, maybe not beautiful, because when I say good looking, I mean interesting looking. They have to have a look. 7, they have to be young. With other professions, the clock is not ticking to the same extent, though unfortunately it does not work like that for the artist, end quote. This list is specifically designed for signing artists to major recording labels in the US, and there are many other ways to build careers in the creative and cultural industries. However, in response to claims that there are exceptions to this, Stein noted, quote, "Everyone is going to think of exceptions to this, but they are exceptions. What I tell my class and what I practice myself is that if you are missing any one of these things, you are really swimming against the current and your time and investment is too valuable. You have to think about this." End quote. The storytelling process within the creative and cultural industries with which artist managers engage therefore often involves a story of youth. This is because, initially at least, most of the attributes in checklists such as Stein's have to be in place before the manager will sign the artist. They know that the people with whom they will seek to partner will have a similar mindset. Within the context of the creative and cultural industries, the youth focus of sectors such as popular music is similar to that of other performing arts, such as some genres of dance. And it is perhaps the saddest point on Stein's checklist. So, in terms of this notion of storytelling and moving people to action, in their work concerning the role of storytelling in fundraising efforts for non-profit organisations and social and political causes generally, McCree, Walker and Webber discuss the process of connecting through narrative. Their work is useful here to shed light on the storytelling processes that are required throughout all stages of an artist's career trajectory. Perhaps because the creative and cultural industries are so youth-oriented, the process of storytelling gains in relevance as artist managers attempt to help artists to sustain careers post their youth. McCree et al. Noted that, quote, "Learning how to make deep connections with the emotional needs of potential partners is the key to growing the resources available for your favourite cause," end quote. For them, leadership is about moving people to action, and they note that storytelling is an ancient way of doing this because, quote, 1. Stories deal with the universal currency of experience. 2. Stories touch our senses. A well-designed story appeals to each of the physical portals through which we perceive the world, the senses of sight, sound, touch, smell and taste. 3. Stories involve challenge, choice and resolution. Every good story depicts one or more humans caught up in challenge, forced to make a choice and experiencing an ultimate resolution, good, bad, joyful or tragic. 4. Stories teach us about ourselves and about the world, end quote. Radbourne and Watkins used the work of McCree et al. In their monograph concerning philanthropy in the arts in a way that resonates with this book. Both of these texts engage with Gans's notion of a public narrative, which is a story that motivates potential partners in a project to act. Radbourne and Watkins noted that, according to Gans, quote, "The public narrative has 3 crucial elements: the story of self, the story of us, and the story of now. And these elements are relevant to artist management processes." First, the story of self relates to the identity of the artist, why they are motivated to do what they do and what their unique talents are. Second, the story of us relates to the shared values and passions of potential partners, including fans, who will help to build the artist's career. Third, the story of now brings the public narrative up to date and speaks to immediate needs. It is relevant to the process of obtaining funding through crowdfunding campaigns and also through more traditional means, such as advances from record labels and song publishers. It also invites the listener to become an active part of the living we embodied in the story. Thank you very much.